Good morning, garden people. I'm out here today in the perennial border, and this is the Pollinator Garden section of the perennial border. And today I'm going to be cutting this down. It is a blustery day. My camera's being blown all over. It's a blustery day here in central New Hampshire, in between what has been a fairly horrible weather week previous to this, and then what is going to be a fairly miserable weather week coming up. And I have about 12 hours of not precipitation in order to do something outside where I'm just not miserable and wet. We've had everything from rain, sleet, snow, a little bit of an ice storm the other day, and tomorrow it's going to go back to rain, snow, just a mess. So today is what I've got, and unfortunately it is really windy right now. You'll see this camera moving all over the place, and you'll see the trees rocking and rolling behind me. But you know, I've got to make the best of the weather that I have. I won't be raking out the ponds like I'd wanted to do, or folding up tarps in the garden like I need to do, because that's just a losing battle with the wind. So I'm going to work on this border. I'm going to cut it down as much as I can and sort of assess my next steps. If you remember from previous garden videos, in the shade and the kitchen view garden, I'm in the process of redoing this whole garden space, partly because I wanted to organize things better around various themes, and this is going to be the Pollinator Garden, but also because, due to various factors, including my inattention, all these garden spaces have been taken over by various invasive things that really I need to just clear it all out and start over. And so basically every single plant in here is going to be lifted and either moved or removed, and then all the invasive stuff that might be around it taken out and put back in. And I'm going to be adding a lot more material, many things that I either purchased or divided last year and stuck in the vegetable garden to heal over for the winter. Also things that I've started from seed. And hopefully we'll have, I'll have a bunch of those to put in later in the season. So yeah, it's a big job, but it's got to be done. And I'm pretty excited about it because I've got a lot of cool plants that I'm hoping the bees and the butterflies are really going to love this year. And yeah, I'm very excited about it. So let's take a look. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of what this border is, where it is, just to orient you. This is the house, and it runs along behind the house. And if I swing over here, you'll see the greenhouse. And in a previous video, I believe I talked about how I want to link all of this together, this greenhouse pad, and then this entire space behind the house, and then tying it into the pollinator garden. This will all, eventually the grass will all be excavated out, and it'll be a gravel pathway that'll link this area to the greenhouse. In the meantime though, we have this perennial border, and it has all kinds of pollinator friendly stuff in it already, but a lot of stuff I don't want. And I've already done quite a bit of work in here, even though it doesn't look like it, eliminating things that I don't want. I dug out all of the bearded iris, and I had a ton of bearded irises, and gave those away. I dug out a lot of the Siberian iris that was in here, except for there's 3 patches here, and those will be coming out this year as well. I think most of this will end up actually in the pond garden, where I think it'll be happier because it's damp soil there, but they're not really pollinator friendly plants, and they tend to run amok here, and they're gone. I've got a lot of Nepeta that will be cut down and divided and spread around. And let's see, what else do I have? I have some sedums and some heleniums that I just planted back behind the sedums that you can't really see yet, that are new to the garden this year. But the rest of the garden is mainly things like Monarda, bee balm, and coneflowers, some Shasta daisies, different heleniums, helianthus, different species. Here we have it's a big black mass of stems here. This is all coreopsis that is going to come out. This was here on the property and it's just run amok. One thing that I'm going to have to deal with this year, and I don't know if you can see this green stuff that is growing up basically among everything. That is one of the things that I have to try to get rid of this year. This, to the best of my knowledge, is clustered bellflower, and it's lovely. I'll put a picture up. However, it goes everywhere, and it's growing in the perennials. It's not just around the perennials, but within the perennials. So I need to get rid of that. It's too much. It spreads both by root, like rhizomes, as well as seed. So that's got to come out. Over here we have the propane tank, which unfortunately I cannot relocate anywhere else. It has to sit here. So we're trying to make the best of a fairly awful situation. I've got an arbor here, and I'm trying different things to try to grow over the arbor and disguise it somewhat without impeding the gas company's ability to refill it. So there'll be some work done here. Right now I've got a couple of honeysuckles growing up the arbor. This one is Sensation. I'll put that on the screen. And then the other one on the back here is Wheeler something Wheeler. I will put that on the screen as well. And they've been okay. They're not really providing the coverage I want yet, so maybe have to rethink that. Back through here, I've got some butterfly bushes up at the top, some grasses, more coreopsis, more bee balm, way more bee balm. A section here that I tore out last fall. There were a lot of bearded iris in here and some more stuff that I dug out. These big clumps are the pink daylilies that I love, but they're going to be moved from this garden somewhere else. And then up here, I've got some Russian sage. I've got a big pile right here. These, I don't know if you can see that, these sort of sawed off bleached stems. Those are all alliums that were given to me some years ago, and I've never divided them. They're probably 4 or 5 years old. So those are going to get dug out and divided and sprinkled throughout the garden because alliums are great pollinator plants. I have a lot of creeping phlox and sedums in this section here. These are all, not all, but a lot of this is going to get dug up and put into the wall garden behind the barn, which is a whole other garden that I will be talking about at some point. again. It's now a day later. Yeah, yesterday I was in the middle of filming a segment and my mic died. And unfortunately, with the wind we had yesterday, which was just really crazy, it was like 30-mile-an-hour gusts, filming without a mic was going to be pretty impossible. And my camera kept getting blown over. So I kind of gave up on the filming part and I just forged ahead and cut down the rest of the garden. So it is completely cut down. And then this morning I raked it out and carted everything away to the compost pile. And it's starting to cloud up a little bit. So the next system is coming in soon tonight. And we're going to get some rain, sleet, snow mix. Who knows? Anyway, so I completely cleared out the garden and found all kinds of interesting things. So let me show you. As I worked my way through the garden yesterday, it really sank in how much work I'm going to have to do in this space. It's been somewhat neglected. Last year it was definitely very neglected. And so there are a lot of weeds, perennial weeds that I'm going to have to dig out, including, I think I mentioned this before, this green stuff that, as you can see, is all throughout this section of the bed. And it's actually in a couple more sections, but this is the worst of it. This is that clustered bellflower. So once I cut away a lot of the stems, you could really see how extensive this is. So all of this is going to have to come out. Also, up here, this whole section here is mostly bee balm. So much bee balm. And I love bee balm for pollinators as much as the next person, but I don't want my whole garden to be bee balm. And this is the native bee balm that I started from seed. So it does tend to just kind of run amok if you don't control it. So there'll be a lot of digging up of bee balm, but not all is bad. I forgot about these little things, these little treasures, these little bulbs right here, popping up. These are what I call snow glories, or glory of the snow. And I'll put the actual name down below. But these were here on the property when we first came, and they spread themselves like crazy all over. So they pop up in the garden, in the lawn, and they're so lovely. I can't wait to show you what they look like when they actually bloom. So I'll definitely be making sure I don't dig these up. I'm standing at the far eastern end of the bed right now, and from this viewpoint, you can see that the garden does slope quite a bit, which presents a little bit of a problem with erosion. So planting this bed densely is key. And also I've been working on building little like terraces, not official terracing, but building bands of rocks, of which we have many here on the farm, in order to slow any erosion, try to keep the soil in place. And obviously I have a lot more work to do. Got to finish this one tier that's here, and then I want to do a second one in between, about halfway, and that should really help. I've got big patches of rose campion throughout the bed. Most have self-seeded themselves into bigger patches. They may have started out as a couple of plants and then just created a big patch around the original plants. I love rose campion. It's such an old-fashioned cottage garden flower. Maybe okay with pollinators, but I just love the really, really dark fuchsia flowers with the gray felty leaves. The contrast is really pretty. And the flowers stand up tall, so they stand up above other foliage. It's just a great little filler plant that I start some from seed every year and try to tuck them in different places. And they seem to do well here. One of the other things I discovered as I was digging stuff out, you can see here is that clustered bellflower all throughout here. But I've also got this thing, this weed, and I don't know what it is. I don't know the name of it. It almost looks like a cross between like a vetch and it's definitely a legume. Um, Whatever it is, it's got very deep roots and it's kind of spread itself even amongst, some of the bee balm here. It's coming out right here. So that's the second big weed that I'm going to have to dig out. Here's another patch of it over here. So if you guys have any idea what this is, it grows a couple, maybe a foot and a half tall. I haven't seen it flower, but it spreads everywhere and I hate it and I need to dig it out. I've also got a bunch of clumps of Shasta daisies in here. This one actually looks like it has a little bit of rodent damage. See a hole under here. But the crown looks okay, so hopefully it's not too damaged. Definitely going to dig that up and split it into several plants. And I've got more, if we walk over this way, got another clump there, which is spreading up into the rocks there. So I can definitely dig that out and split them up. The other interesting thing that I discovered this last fall. I don't know if you can see this with the camera, but there's this big mound of dirt that is distinctly a different color than the surrounding soil. It's, the deep subsoil. It's clear. I know we had a woodchuck in this garden at one point. I don't see a hole. So I'm wondering if this was like left over from when he was in here and just never got covered back up. But the mound, it's probably a good 6 inches higher than the rest of the garden soil. So again, have to dig that out. And I think I've got some coneflowers in here. I thought there was a third bunch of the Shasta daisies in here, but obviously it's been covered. So I'm going to have to excavate this a little bit, dig out those coneflower plants, and see what I can salvage. Further up here, I have 3 butterfly bushes. They're beautiful deep fuchsia. I didn't cut those down yet. I'm going to wait a little bit until the weather is warmer. Butterfly bushes, they're technically hardy here, but I've had trouble in the past losing them over winter. And I know that cutting them down too early can sometimes kill them. That's been my experience. So I'm going to wait probably another 2-3 weeks or so until the weather is reliably warmer and then prune those back hard. Hopefully they'll come back. Again, more of the rose campion all over the place and more of these snow glories everywhere. The rest of the garden doesn't look like a whole lot because it's all, cut down and dead at the moment. But those are the big issues that I'm seeing right now. Those 2 different weeds that I've got to dig out, plus the Johnson grass, or I just call it runner grass, especially all along the top. Actually, I'll take you up there along the top because that's a little berm that has been the bane of my existence since I started this garden. So I'm up here at the top of the garden and there's this gravel channel right here. I'm not sure if I've ever explained that. We have a lot of water coming down off this pasture, this hill, and we wanted a way to divert the water away from the house. So we had a friend of ours, the same guy who dug the pond, actually, Evan. He came and dug a channel, lined it, filled it with gravel, and then there's perforated pipe toward the end of it that carries the water behind the greenhouse into a culvert. And it does actually flow in the spring and after really heavy rains, which is kind of frightening. Anyway, so that this catches a lot of the water from running down toward the house. And originally I had built this little berm along the right edge of it, and I've been struggling with what to plant here. I thought I've come up with a number of different ideas and none of them just really panned out. I stuck daylilies in here, the orange ditch lilies, and they're okay, but it's not really in keeping with the theme of the pollinator garden. So a lot of these actually are going to make their way toward the barn slope garden. In a previous video, I talked about how the barn slope garden was a bit of a problem because the snow load off the barn tended to dump suddenly onto plants, and I needed something that was going to survive that. These daylilies, you cannot kill them. So all of these are going to get dug up and put in that garden, and then add more soil. And now I'm thinking flowering shrubs, a border of relatively low growing flowering shrubs, things like nine barks, there are smaller versions, Wigelia, Deutzia, things like that, that have flowers that attract bees and hummingbirds and things like that. So it's still evolving. The other plan for this space, this channel, is made up of very large rock, drainage rock, and it's fairly unsightly as well as not being easy to walk on. Eventually, I plan to expand the garden beds out to around this ginkgo tree and swoop back toward the barn garden that will be under where the tarp is into one big bed. And I'd like this to become the pathway that takes you into this space. So what I plan to do is excavate the edges a little bit here, so, clean them up, and then put much finer gravel on top of it in order to be able to walk on it. And it'll bring you back over here into what will be the path for toward the kitchen view and shade garden and around the corner of the barn. So this will all eventually link together. But for now, it's just kind of a hot mess of daylilies and weeds and bad soil. So that's going to be probably one of the first things I do is open up that slope garden and add some soil and try to get some of these over there early on so I can open up the space and start to work on it. Whew, well, I'm glad I finally got started on this. It's going to be a big project, but this is the year that I promised myself I would finally get these big garden projects that have been in my head and on the back burner for a long time finished, or at least well started. A garden is never finished, right? So I'm excited that I'm finally going to tackle this garden for real this time and get all of the other little bits of garden attached to this started, and really, really excited to see how it all comes together. I'm really trying to organize my gardens now rather than just have it be a mishmash of things that I love and things that are pretty. Really trying to have themes and ideas around a particular space. This is the pollinator garden, and we've got the shade garden, the kitchen view garden, the pond garden, and there are a few more ideas percolating in my head, and I hope to get most of those started this year, and I can't wait to share them with you. So thank you again for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.